Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Plato and Aristotle podcast. This is episode 13, lucky number 13, and one of the cats that lives in my home is deciding to lay on me at this moment, so I'm sorry if that sounded like complete and utter garbage, but say hello, Mac. We have a special guest. That was him. What did we say we were going to call the guests that appear on the show?
He just popped right into frame on the video call. Socrates.
Why did he look so scared? What happened? Socrates is here causing a disturbance, but this is episode 13.
Do I look like
him? We upload, well, we try to upload every Monday on, okay, that's enough of that, on YouTube and Spotify, and we also have a TikTok, and you can go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like and follow us on TikTok. You can give us a review on Spotify. All that good stuff. I think that about covers everything, right?
I think so. Yeah, we're Plato and Aristotle.
Is here.
Plato and Aristotle pod on pretty much everything. If you want to email us, Plato and Aristotle.
Yes.
Plato and Aristotle pod at gmail.com.
Yes.
To email us.
Be honest with me. When he's hitting this mic, can you hear that? When he hits it with his face?
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Alright, cool.
Not on my end.
Alright, sweet. Well, let us know. Email us or comment on our YouTube channel if you could hear
the mic.
Socrates hitting the mic with his face, because he seems to just really enjoy doing that. But it's lucky number 13. It's episode 13.
I think, is that lucky though? I think 13 is like chronically super unlucky.
It is chronically unlucky.
So should we make this like a really cursed episode?
Yeah, actually. Well, it's starting off great because he almost just like yanked the cord out of this microphone. I actually don't know the origin of why 13 is an unlucky number. I know if you stay on like a lot of hotels don't have a 13th floor.
Yeah,
like they skip it. But then technically, wouldn't you have a 13th floor anyway?
Yeah.
You just don't call it that.
I guess.
But it would still be the 13th. But yeah, this is lucky number 13.
Well.
So you saw a movie this week.
I did see a movie this week. I feel like
movie hour.
And I promise, I know every single time we podcast, we end up talking about movies the entire time, which I'm not mad about. And I actually don't care if anyone's mad about it because that's what I want to talk about.
So far, nobody's mentioned anything. So I think the bots that we have listening right now
love
really
the movie hour.
Movie talks.
No, yeah, I watched Heretic this week. Quick review, I would say hermit viciously studying all forms of religion and also way too invested in Radiohead creep lawsuits. I'm not scared. That's me. That is me. And I feel like I was watching him and I was like, yeah, this is just like, if you're scared by this,
a good scented candle.
Yeah, I was like, this is just a peek into my room. This is my life. You acted it, I live it. So nice try, Hugh Grant. But whatever. Yeah,
it's
no.
Your Joker.
It actually is my Joker, low key. I was like, we're too similar, except for not really. I guess no spoilers. But unless you'd like spoilers.
I read the plot already, so you're welcome.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, yeah.
It didn't really make sense to me, so maybe talk me through it.
Yeah, let me give a quick synopsis then.
Yeah, I was reading the Letterboxd reviews, and I got the one about him listening to Lana Del Rey, and I was like, oh my god, or not Lana Del Rey, Creep.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I gotta read the plot summary because I want to know what this is about. So I read the plot summary because I want to see the movie.
Yeah, it was
but
good.
I might not see it for a little bit because I want to see Gladiator, but I don't remember when that
I'm so excited. It comes out Thanksgiving week, I think.
Human beings in a mob.
What's a mob,
to a king?
What's akin
Okay,
to
so walk me through it. I
God?
know they're Mormons, and I know it's Sophie Thatcher from Yellow Jackets and Hugh Grant, but I don't recognize the other actress. Is anybody else even in that movie, or is it just literally the three of them?
It's pretty much just the three of them. I think the guy. Hold on, let me double check though on Letterboxd. I think the guy. There's somebody else. Maybe that was recognizable, but I don't. You know, I'm so bad with um faces and names and actors. So what happens in this movie basically is it's these two young women who are I forget what the technical term is, but they're just like Mormon.
They are Latter-day Saints, missionaries.
Yeah, missionaries. I think there's a specific like term though. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways,
It's usually not women though, so I thought that was confusing to me. Was why it was two girls going door to door.
yeah,
Or maybe I'm just wrong.
I don't actually know because I don't know a ton about Mormonism mission.
You
stuff.
don't?
Yeah, I surprised.
I thought you watched that whole
Not
documentary.
Mormon. No, I don't know. I don't know that much about their like mission structure. But yeah, it's these two women. They're Mormon missionaries, so they have like a list of families or houses or whatever, and they go to those people and basically just show up and you know show face and say like give them a little pamphlet, and they're like, do you want to talk about our church or like our faith or whatever, and then they you know share the good news, and that's it. Like that's kind of the whole gist. So
Have you heard the good word?
have you heard the good word? So they are like, that's the whole intro sequence, is just them kind of running around town doing that. And then they go to this house that's like kind of off the beaten path, at the top of this hill, mountain, bluff. I don't really know. It's not a bluff. There's no mountain, or there's no ocean. But it's Hugh Grant's house. He lets them in. They sit down. He's like being super weird with them when they sit down already. Like he if you've seen the trailer, then you know that first of all, female Mormon missionaries can't go be in private with men because I'm sure it's like partially a safety thing, but it's also like a faith thing. So anyways, they're like, we can't actually come into your house, and it's like pouring rain outside, and they're standing on his doorstep like, hey, we're here to share. And they're like, we actually can't come inside unless there's another woman present. And he's like, oh, my wife is inside, like, so feel free. And so they're like, okay. So they go in, they sit down, and he's like, my wife's actually baking a blueberry pie, so let me go get that. So he goes, comes back with this little tray with 2 Cokes on it, and which is diabolical. He profiled them and brought them 2 sodas. No cream? The hell? And
I was gonna say, but also, isn't the whole thing they can't have caffeine? So
yeah,
you
but
can
not
bring them,
soda.
like, Diet Coke.
No, soda doesn't count.
Oh, okay, just not coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, he brings that out with a candle, and he's like sitting there talking to them, and he's asking them really weird fucking questions. Like he's like, which he says too, he was like, I'm gonna have to ask a really insensitive question, is that okay? And they're like, I guess, like, we're not gonna know until you ask, because and so he's like, what do you guys think about polygamy? Which is crazy. I was like, am I about to get poly evangelized by Hugh Grant in this movie? Because in case listeners, if you're not aware, that's the wave right now. Everyone is trying to get me to be poly online. I feel like every time I get on Instagram Reels, it's some couple being poly, or Darling I by Tyler the Creator, or like, why is
It's a
everybody
post-Challengers world.
It is a post-Challengers world. Everyone wants me to be poly, which whatever, but I'm having the same level of annoyance with the poly indoctrinators as I am with Mormon missionaries. So it's like, this is a for real, evenly yoked battle right now. If he's gonna try to get them on being poly.
Evenly yoked.
So
So he asked them like if they would be into polygamy or like
he's
their
just like,
general thoughts.
what do you think about this? And they're like in the context of the church, and he's like, yeah. And so they have a whole conversation about it. Basically, it's them being like, yeah, well, at the time, the reason that he was like, it's a really controversial part of Mormonism, so I just, you know, what are your thoughts? Like, do you not think that it's kind of convenient that all of a sudden they decided that was no longer acceptable after doing it for X amount of years? And they, they bounce back and they're like, well, at the time, like, it was necessary to like grow the numbers of the church, and whatever, all this stuff. He asked them a couple other weird questions, and then they're like, can you just get your wife, please? There was one criminal part though, where one of the two Mormon missionaries, her dad is dead, and so he asks her like, how did your dad die? And
How does he know that? She said
it
that?
like comes up in conversation. Yeah. Oh, because he's asking them like, where are they from, and like what's their background, I guess, like how did they get to doing what they're doing. And she says Lou Gehrig's disease, but she says it like pretty quietly, and so he says blueberry disease because of the pie, and he thinks that she's doing a bit. And so they just sit there super awkward, and then the other Mormon girl is like, Lou Gehrig's disease. It was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. Whatever. So he leaves the room to go get the pie, and then in the time that he leaves the room, she like sees the candles actually blueberry scented, and so there's not a pie, and so they're, they don't know what's going on. So they're freaking out and they're trying to leave. He took their coats when they came in. So they're like, should we get our coats? Like, we don't, like, they locked their keys, locked their keys. They locked their bikes to his front gate, and the key to the lock is in one of their coat pockets. So like, do we need our coats? Should we just go? And they're like, it's like a, 4-mile walk back or whatever. And they're like, fuck it, we're just going to go. Like, we're not going to ask. So they try to leave, but they can't. Door's locked. There's like no windows. The window on the front of the house is tiny. They have no cell service, so they can't even send a message to the church that they're working with or anything. Nothing. So end up walking through his house because he
real
never
for that
comes
though,
back.
because if I was like, I don't know, and he was like, well, my wife's making a blueberry pie. I love blueberry pie.
I know.
Fuck that.
I know, and that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. They're like, it's my favorite. And I was like, that's so unfortunate.
All of the means, all of the worldly means to make a blueberry pie, but
it's different when somebody else makes it.
Like, it was in the oven.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So it's almost ready, and you're gonna give me some.
So
I agree.
They end up like, he doesn't come back, and so they end up walking back, like down the hall that he keeps coming back and forth from. Because he like goes and gets some drinks, and he goes to get his wife and she doesn't want to come, and like all this stuff. They go down the hallway and they go into this room, and it's like just like a library, like office looking room. You've seen the trailer. We've all seen the trailer. And they go in and they like have this really uncomfortable conversation with him where he's like, they're like, we just need to leave, and he's like, okay, yeah, you're free to leave. And they're like, okay, well, your door is like stuck or something, and he's like, yeah, that's because my doors are on timed locks, and there's no way to unlock them until the timer goes off. So you're going to have to, like, you can either stay until tomorrow if you want to go out the front door, or you're welcome to go out the back door of my house. And they're like, what? Okay. And it's the 2 doors in the study, and it's a whole thing. So he ends up doing his breakdown of, like, I study all sorts of religions, and I'm trying to find the religion that is the truest, and what I've deduced is the way that he breaks it down is that Judaism is this like old board game called like the landlord's game or something, and then Christianity is Monopoly, which is the landlord's game, but like rebranded for consumption, mass consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, Islam is, I don't even know, a newer iteration of Monopoly, like the one that you can buy at Walmart now. And then he's like, and the where you fit in is Mormonism is like this random weird offshoot of Christianity, and then he pulls out a Bob Ross version of Monopoly, and he's like, "This is y'all," and they're like,
"Oh, it's like off-brand."
Oh, for sure, yeah, basically, just being like, "You're like the
like
weird
the Monopoly
novelty
that you'll
Christianity."
find,
it's just
like
at TJ
you
Maxx.
you live in a smaller town when your town has its own Monopoly.
Oh yeah,
like my hometown, someone made a Monopoly version of my hometown.
Oh, the
That's
town
how
next
you
to
know
me
that's...
has Monopoly for that town.
Yeah.
So,
and my mom almost bought it. My mom was like, "This is so cute." I was like,
"Don't do that. Don't do that, Hugh Grant."
But I see what he's saying.
Yeah, so that's the whole point. And then this is the point of the film where he also equates it to Judaism is The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies. Christianity is Creep by Radiohead, which would make Islam Get Free by Lana Del Rey. Though he doesn't, I don't think he explicitly lays it out like that, but he's just saying like all these things are iterations of the things before them, and so like how can you decide what's actually true when everything is derivative of something else that came before it? You know, like there's all these things that came before, all these different, you know, myths and religions and whatever that came before Christianity, and then Christianity came of that, and it's ignorant to ignore the similarities. And they're like, okay, like, you know,
all right, we won't listen to
like sorry,
the Hollies,
I don't.
Then.
Yeah, well, what was funny is
he's bust out some Creep.
What was funny is he's singing Creep or humming Creep. No, sorry. He's playing on a record player in the office as he's like giving his whole spiel, "The Air That I Breathe" by the Hollies, and he's like, "Do you know this song?" And they're like, "No," and he's like, "Well, you've heard it before though," and they're like, "No." And he's like, "Well, you've heard something similar." And then he starts to sing Creep. And they're like, "No, never heard it."
He's asking two Mormon-ass bitches if they've heard Creep.
And he's like,
no, they haven't heard
then
Creep.
he says,
"Are you serious? You study religion and you don't even... You know to give them soda, but... You're going to sing Creep in front of them?"
And then he says, "How old are you guys?" Like 19, 20? And they're like, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, maybe you know Lana Del Rey then." Get Free. And that's the Creep bit. Okay. So then he does the whole thing with the doors where he's incredible. Like, you can leave my house through the back door of my house. And then he writes belief on one door and disbelief on the other. And he's like, "I want you to go through either door, doesn't matter, you're gonna leave my house either way, so it's just the path that you take will be different. You can go through the belief door if you still believe what you showed up here saying you believe, or you can go through the disbelief door if I've like convinced you otherwise and now you don't believe in God or whatever." So they end up going through the belief door because one of them is like, "He's playing mind games with us, like it doesn't matter what we choose," because they open both the doors. And it's like a descent into hell, basically, is what it looks like. This dark-ass staircase that just slopes downward and you can't see the end of it. And so they're like, okay, it doesn't matter. So they go to the bottom of the stairs, through the belief door, locks them in there. And it's just this, like, disgusting, dingy, like, I know it was damp as hell in there because there's, like, water leaking through the ceiling. And there's, like, a folding table and a folding chair. And that's all that's in this room. And, like, there's no lights, and it just looks gross and wet in there. Somebody on Letterboxd said it was just, like, religious Saw, which I think is accurate, I would say.
Yeah.
Sorry, something in my throat. Yeah, so basically what ends up happening is that he's like, "You're going to witness a miracle, because I have this... I'm going to prove to you I'm going to prove to you that resurrection is possible. And they're like, what? Like, why? He's like, I've been doing experiments and I have this prophet of God and the prophet is gonna
Frankenstein
resurrect.
moment.
Yeah, super weird. And he's saying all this at some point, like, this woman walks into the room and she's so scary looking. Like, low-key, if I didn't have the religious background I have, I know this would have been really scary to me, but because I do, it was significantly less scary because I was like, oh, yeah. But she she comes in like all veiled and like the gauzy, like, you know, like she looks like a Catholic statue. But it's this person, you can't see her face. She's got gnarly hands and bare feet, and she's like walking all like I don't know, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like, you know. She walks over, sits down at this table. She brings in, I don't remember, blueberry pie. And he's like, she's gonna eat this blueberry pie.
A real one?
A real one. She's gonna eat this
Oh my
blueberry pie, but it
God.
has
Worth it.
poison in it, basically.
Oh, what the
So she's gonna eat the blueberry pie.
Guys,
She's gonna
I just want to
die,
eat a blueberry pie.
and then she's gonna come back and she's gonna tell you what she saw when she died. And they're like, okay.
Was it a blueberry pie?
Well, so she does get
saw-
a face full of blueberry pie because she eats blueberry pie. It is poison, and then she passes out directly into the pie. And he like makes them like lift
That's a
her
good way
head
to
up
go.
and like take her pulse, which is like, that is so fucked. Like, you're so evil for that. So she like does all that and then dies, and then they get distracted because one of the like pastors at their church, like, they never come back home, and they're supposed to do like it's like a summer camp situation where you're supposed to sign in and sign out if you like leave. And so they never sign back in, and so he goes to all of their stops because he knows like he has their itinerary for the day. So he goes to all their stops to basically just say, have you guys seen 2 Mormon girls? Did they come here? And so he shows up at Hugh Grant's house to ask if they ever showed up, and they hear the doorbell, and so then they like run to the top of the stairs so that they can try to figure out how to get out or like scream for help or something. So they're all the way at the top of the stairs. This woman is dead all the way at the bottom of the stairs in the room. All that ensues. They come back down, and
He didn't see their bikes?
Hugh Grant took them in the house. You find that out at the end of the movie. But at some point when he leaves to go get them drinks, he actually went outside and got their bikes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Now I'm back in.
yeah. So anyways, the woman resurrects and tells them that she just saw, I think she said she saw like white light or something, like a conductor, and then she says it's not real. And so he's like, see, I also at some point in this, all of this playing out, he is playing creep through the speaker into this room.
I know you were
And
sitting there
he's singing
like
it.
twiddling your feet.
I
Like,
was like, this is making this all this like not boring because I liked the movie, but the build up, like I was like, I'm ready to see her resurrect, is making it worth it. Keep playing creep, please. Thank you so much. So yeah, she resurrects and tells them all that, and they're like, he says like, see, I needed witnesses of this miracle and whatever. It doesn't matter. So he ends up coming into the basement.
what
to
does he
get
tell their leader when he comes to knock on the door and says, "Did you see them?" What does he tell that guy?
that he hasn't seen him, and he's just like, oh, I
Okay.
never saw them. Like, good luck.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
that's it. So he comes into the basement area, whatever, gets the prophet woman who resurrected, and takes her back up to this like other room. And then I don't know. The thing about this movie with the plot was not complicated, but they're doing a lot of like philosophical there's a lot of conversation going on. So some of the exact beats have gotten lost on me because I was more worried about what they were saying because that was way more important. But in essence, what ends up happening is he ushers the prophet out, and then he comes back down to the basement, and they have this plan. They like took like a letter opener out of the study when he was like giving his monologue earlier, and so they have this like secret word that if one of them, like if one of the girls says that the girl with the letter opener is gonna stab him with a letter opener so they can escape. It's her cue. So she says the word, and when she's about to go stab him with the letter opener, he like has a box cutter and he cuts the girl who does not have the box opener, cuts her throat. And
oh,
yeah, and
what was the word?
I think it was magic trick was the phrase, because it was like, it's not real, it's a magic trick. Like that was the whole, because they're talking about the prophet. They're like, you can't prove that she actually died or that she whatever, like you can't tell. And the reason that she's saying that is because she's like, I also had a near-death experience when I was whatever age, and I had saw the same thing as her, but that proves nothing because whatever. And then he cuts her with a box cutter. And she is laying on the floor bleeding out, and the other girl like runs to the top of the stairs and is screaming and freaking out and whatever, comes back downstairs. He cuts, there's a scar on the inside of the top of her arm. He cuts into the scar and like digs around in her arm and pulls this rod out and puts it on makes the other girl that's still fine sit down at the table and puts the rod in front of her and is like, see, she's not real, like she's a robot, she's been programmed, that's what this rod is, it's like a chip, da da da. And the other girl is like, I am pretty sure that that's just birth control. Like, I'm pretty sure that that's just birth control. And he was like, why would a Mormon missionary have birth control? And she's like, I don't know, but I'm telling you that that's just birth control. And he's like, right. See how you would have believed it, though? Like, the whole point he's trying to make is, like, you just believe shit because people tell you to believe it. Whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, no, it's birth control. I know it's not real. And I feel like you've lost control of the situation, so you're trying to, like, come up with some random bullshit to, like, still have control of the situation. She's like, I don't think the prophet's real. I think that you fed the woman poison, she died, and then you replaced her body with another woman who looks like her, and that's how that happened. And he's like, well, how would I have done that? And it's this whole thing, and she finds a trapdoor under the table where he put the dead body, and the new woman came up while they were distracted at the top of the stairs trying to scream for help. So the prophet thing was fake. He makes her go. He's like, the only way you can prove this, though, is that you have to go into the trapdoor and go into the second underground lair. So she goes down there, and she's walking through this, like, tunnel of... It literally just looks like a haunted house tunnel to me. Like, it looks like... It's what I imagine it would look like if you were to go on some kind of, like, voodoo tour in New Orleans. Like, there's just random occult type stuff laying around, and there's, like, cobwebs and whatever. They go through all that. She gets to the very end. She gets to the last door that's locked, and it's locked with the bike lock from earlier. So she pulls the key out, and she takes the bike lock off, and she goes through the door, and it's this room that's filled with these women in cages, and they're all dressed like the prophet. And it's like the room is freezing, and they're in literally like dog kennels, like not like, you know, like crates. And he comes into the room and is like giving them water, and you know, there's a whole other monologue where he cuts one of their fingers off, which is crazy that he does that. He snips one of their fingers off. I said, cool.
One of the women in the cages?
Yes.
Just for shit?
Yeah, because the whole point of the monologue is like the only true religion is control. Like, that's all that religion is doing for you, is controlling you. So the only, like, the root thing that connects all of these things is control. So that's the truth. Yeah. So sure. He's like, whatever. To be expected from somebody who was repeatedly referencing Creed. Keep that shit to yourself, as the rest of us are forced to.
Yeah, this is kind of like Incel's wet dream, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it definitely is. I liked the movie, though. Like, I think it was a good movie. And because Hugh Grant is sexy, like, and charismatic.
What that guy is doing.
No, 100%. 100%. But I don't think it was giving, like... Maybe it was just giving Joker for, like, religious white girls.
You.
Like me. So
he cuts off one of the dog lady's fingers.
That's so evil.
Are they alive?
Yeah, they're alive. They're alive. And so she's like, you know, comes into this room and is like, oh my God, and like gives like her jacket to one of these women because it's freezing cold in there and all this stuff. And he's monologuing at her about control and da da da. And then she says like something, but it's not, you know, you haven't proven anything to me and you've set all this up and it's just a magic trick. And then she stabs him in the throat with the letter opener. And she goes to run out, but she can't figure out how to get out of his house because all the doors are like fucked up and weird and it's like a maze in there. And so he ends up attacking her and he stabs her in the stomach, and then she's like, I don't really care what you say about religion because it doesn't matter. Like, I think that there's value in thinking about people other than yourself, which is why I believe in God, basically. And she's like, it doesn't matter, like, you're dying and I'm going to pray for you because that's how I live my life and I don't care how evil you are because it really doesn't have that much to do with you and everything to do with me and what kind of human I am. Was the point that she's making. And so she's like praying and he's like sitting there like getting closer to her like he's going to do something to her. And they're sitting right next to the body of the girl from earlier. And she like wakes up, smacks him in the head with a like 2x4, kills him, and then she also lays back down and dies. And then somehow the girl that got stabbed in the stomach escapes, and the final scene is her like running through the snow, and she like falls to her knees because she's bleeding everywhere, and she hallucinates a butterfly on her hand. But you don't like there's a butterfly on her hand and then all of a sudden it's not there at all, so you know that she's hallucinating. But it's a callback to the beginning of the movie where she tells her partner that died, when I die I'm going to come back as a butterfly and I'm going to land directly on the tips of the fingers of the people that I love so they know that it was me. And that's like, I'm not going to land on their hand, I'm not going to land on whatever, like I'm going to land on the tips of their fingers so they know that it's me. Da, da, da. And they've had this whole conversation throughout the movie too about near-death experiences and not being able to distinguish hallucination from reality. So like basically people who have near-death experiences can't necessarily prove that they've seen the afterlife because it could just be your brain hallucinating whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole point, is that she got what she wanted, and to her it's a message about her, you know, dead friend, whether it's real or not, it's real to her. So I think that's kind of the whole point that they were making. There's definitely way more substance to this movie, but that's the movie. So all that to say, I don't have that much commentary to make on it, besides the religious breakdown, which we don't have to talk about. But yeah, I think I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4.5 stars. Because lots of creep talk, which I liked.
It was funny that you and my other friend watched it on the same day. And it looked like you watched it together because your reviews uploaded at the exact same time. Trust, I also sent her that picture I sent you and said, "Did you watch this together?" And she's like, "Why'd she say something?" I said, she didn't.
Sorry, Queen.
Anyways. Well, I know that A24 was selling the candle.
Oh, were they?
If you were interested. Huh. Yeah, on the member website.
Damn. I should look and see if they have
other stuff on there. Yeah, they might have some stuff.
I think the only thing about this movie that I will say is that I did really like it, and I like Hugh Grant. I think that he's sexy. But if anything, I feel like I learned something about myself because him being so hot to me, even though he was being weird, he wasn't being weird enough for me to be that scared of him. Like, I really wanted to be scared of him,
that's not
but I wasn't scared of him. I wasn't. And like the way, like obviously some of the stuff he's saying is weird, but he's such a charismatic person that it was kind of shadowed by the charisma, you know? Like he wasn't being awkward about what he was saying. So I wasn't that, the movie was not scary to me.
Mm-hmm. I want to know what happened to why he had the women in the cages. Polygamy.
The control thing.
But where did he get them?
I think they're supposed to be like previous missionaries, was what they were implying.
Damn. So what's
Yeah.
with all the female missionaries?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Maybe that's summer camp. Yeah, that's right. Maybe that's why they have the sign-in sheet. So I don't know. I have so many questions, but
Yeah,
I'll have to watch
I
it though. It
gave
seems
a
like a
really
movie that
bad
I
recap,
would
I
need
will
to
say.
see, but not necessarily up my alley in terms of material, but I'd watch it.
I mean, like, it looks cool, and like I think like the way that it's shot is definitely kind of scary.
I'd watch it for the blueberry pie
Yeah, I think the like religious
and Hugh Grant.
Saw aspect of it all was good. Hugh Grant's good. It's a good movie, solid movie. If you don't care that much about religion, it's probably not the movie for you. But I do, so that was the movie for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all. Have you watched anything
Mm.
this week? Recently that
No,
you'd like to discuss?
well, actually, that's not true. Well, I have two things. The first
Okay.
one is I was visiting with my grandmother,
Yes.
and we together started the second season of The White Lotus.
Oh
I
yeah,
have not
tell
seen
me
the
about
first
that.
season, but I watched the second season. Well, the first couple of episodes, and I think you'd really like it. I haven't seen the first season, so I told my sister, I was like, okay, we're gonna watch the first season and then go back and rewatch
Is
the
it
second
a
season.
continued plot or is it like a new plot for season 2?
So it's an anthology, I believe is the term, where like it's like American Horror Story, where like each season is different.
Okay.
But there's like a recurring character. So Jennifer Coolidge, I believe. Now again, I haven't seen the first season, but from what my grandma told me, Jennifer Coolidge is the same character in both seasons, and presumably I think she's going to be in the third one too. So I think she's the only recurring character, but everybody else is completely different. And I think the first season has like Alexandra Daddario and Sydney Sweeney, and they're not in the second season.
Okay.
So I think Jennifer Coolidge is the only recurring one. But the first season takes place out of 4 seasons. It's called The White Lotus. It's not the 4 seasons.
Who wants to go to
but
the 4
in
seasons?
Maui. The 4 seasons Orlando. And the second season is The White Lotus 4 seasons. The White Lotus in Sicily, in Italy.
Okay.
And I knew about this show and like I knew it like had won some stuff
Yeah.
and some pretty good people were in it, but I never really was like let me turn on The White Lotus. But I really enjoyed the second season so far. I think we were about halfway through it when I had to come back. But so 4 from Divergent,
Which is
What's his
crazy
name?
because I didn't know that like not to be evil, but I didn't know he was doing acting like that.
I know. So
I need to look him up right
it's kind of one of those shows too where it's almost like a soap opera where like everyone has drama, but it's all these different characters and they interact with each other like briefly because they're all staying at the White Lotus, but they all have their own storylines, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So there's a bunch of characters, but you have Jennifer Coolidge and her husband and her assistant, who is Haley Lou Richardson from that 5 Feet Apart movie, I want to say. And then you have this trio where it's like a son, a dad, and a grandfather that are trying to visit like family in Sicily. Oh, Socrates is back.
Amazing. Also, I'd just
and then
like
you
to
have-
say 4 has not aged a day.
No, he hasn't.
4
If anything,
still
he's gotten
4.
hotter. Yeah, and he's like in Italy in the show too, so he's all sexy and tan and like not wearing a shirt. And it's beautiful.
Amazing.
So 4 from Divergent and this beautiful actress, I don't know her name, Megan something, are this like super rich couple that invited Aubrey Plaza and her husband to vacation with them because the two husbands knew each other in college. So
it's
their
kind of
storyline is like
Infinity Pool vibes. Sort of.
a little bit, yeah, just with more people and not
Yeah.
like death. But
Damn,
yeah, so
spoiler.
Aubrey Plaza is sorry. It's great because I really like the dynamic of the two couples. I don't really care for the other storylines that much. There's also like 2 Italian prostitutes that are there that like cause some trouble, but the dynamic of like 4 from Divergent and his wife are really rich and like kind of play dumb, but they're they know things, but they're like, there's a scene where Aubrey Plaza says she's having trouble sleeping. Because they asked them like, how'd you sleep? And she says she cracks a joke like, oh, just the state of the world. It's hard for me to like fall asleep, basically, which whatever. But the wife goes, what's there to worry about? Sorry, Socrates is pissing me off. And I thought that scene was so funny because it just was like their reactions.
Yeah,
Aubrey Plaza and her husband are just kind of like, what do you mean? And then like a couple episodes later, they have a similar scene where she's talking about like, well, would you guys ever want to have kids? And Aubrey Plaza says again, like, I don't know, just like the state of things. I don't think I'd like to bring a child into this world just yet, like, or at all. And again, the wife is like, why? Like, what's going on in the world? We don't read the news. So the other important thing is these four couples are, oh my God. Aubrey Plaza's husband, I'll pull up a picture for you, is so cute. And my grandma kept being like, he's so adorable.
Cute?
And in real life, he's...
Cute?
He's sexy. He's sexy.
Okay.
But he's also cute. He's like sexy and cute at the same time. And there's a scene of him jorking it. And that was very good for me.
Watching
his name is Will Sharp.
Crazy.
This is what he looks like in the show.
Okay. Let me pull him up. So I can look at
you'll have to find a good picture.
Three pixels. But I'm seeing the
There
vision though. Oh. Okay.
I think that's the
sexy.
scene after him jorking it. Where you can see where there's some clips where I'm like, oh, you're cute. And then there's some clips where you're like, oh, yeah, you're hot.
Yeah, he's hot. No.
He is good looking. But they are such a cute couple. But of course they have drama. So it's good so far. I want to watch the first season. Hopefully it's just as entertaining, but it's just so pretty. But yeah, I was watching The White Lotus, which I'll have to like restart and catch back up on. We were talking about this earlier, but my sister and I have been rewatching Stranger Things, which has been good because there's a lot of stuff that I've forgotten occurs.
Hold on. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt
what
you.
What does the headline say?
Just before we move on from The White Lotus, I'm looking at pictures of Will Sharp, and I got this headline for you, which is Theo James says he wants to be inside Will Sharp on The White Lotus. This is from out.com. And hey, you know what? Twin. Me and my twin and him. Yeah, I would love to...
So what did he mean by that?
I don't know. I think that they're giving a lot of plot synopsis, so I wonder if Theo James's character said that. Oh. Wait, this is really funny though. Two of the most fascinating...
Until the point that I watched.
Two of the most fascinating and hottest characters introduced in this season 2 are Cameron, Theo James, and Ethan.
Yes.
Will Sharp.
Yes.
Damn, imagine them being college roommates is grim.
I mean, there's a plot point in the show where they are left alone at the hotel because the wives go to this other, like, palazzo, and the Italian... spoiler alert. The Italian prostitutes, like, come because Cameron, Thor from Divergent, is like, come on over! So... he sleeps with one of them, but Ethan, the cutie, does not.
So how many episodes did you watch?
5? About halfway through.
So in episode 4 of The White Lotus season 2, Cameron told Ethan while lying in the same bed, I love you. I just want to be inside you. I want to do stuff to you. I want to make you feel good. Do you remember that? How would you not remember that?
That did not happen.
How would you not remember that? That's what they're telling me.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they're telling me.
No, that didn't happen.
Are we positive?
I would have remembered that. He does not say
that.
Wait.
For non-viewers of The White Lotus, the scene pictured above might look like a crystal clear gay moment on the show. Yeah, it did. However, things are a little bit more nuanced than that.
I don't remember that scene at all.
I don't know.
Does it explain?
While waiting for their wives to return to the White Lotus Resort and feeling extremely hungover,
Yes.
Ethan and Cameron lied on the same bed to relax for a second and gather their thoughts. It was during this moment that Cameron delivered the jokes about wanting to be inside Ethan. It's at the beginning of the episode where they pay off the Italian women and dismiss them. And they're hungover.
I missed that scene entirely. I
I'm
remember
going
him
to the
paying
website.
them, and I remember them.
I'm going
I told you. I told you.
No, wait,
I
this
told
was
you.
them?
Yes, I
No.
texted you about this already. I said I've been to the website. There are 6 fan fictions. They are all terrible. There is one alpha action one that's also bad. Because they make the wives such bitches, and they're not bitches in the show, and that actually bothers me because I'm like, But no, I did go to the website because they were both too sexy not to. That's crazy, though, that I missed that scene. I guess when I rewatch it, I'll look for that, but I don't remember them... I remember them waking up in the same bed, but that's because the prostitutes came to Ethan's bedroom, which becomes like a plot point, because it's whatever. But I don't
What
remember
are their
him
full
saying
names? Do you know?
I have no idea. I know Cameron's wife's name is Daphne,
Cameron
and
Sullivan?
Ethan's wife's name is Harper, but I don't remember what their last names are.
Cameron Sullivan and
They
Ethan
really
Spiller?
said. Sure.
Okay.
I have no idea.
That's the first Cameron Ethan that came up when I went to look.
I mean, there can't be that many.
That's what I'm
but-
thinking as well. Yeah, 6 found.
But if you see
Fuck.
like Daphne tagged or
Fuck.
Harper tagged or the White Lotus
Oh
tagged,
my
then that's them.
god. That is so evil.
I know, and the show came out 2 years ago now. Season 2 came out like 2 years ago.
Dog. 312 kudos on this one. Ooh, should we check the other website?
Yeah, if you want. I doubt there'll be anything there. If there's anything on this particular website.
Well, what do you mean by that? Do you know what other website I'm talking about? The blue website?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are talking...
I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure you're not thinking I'm talking about like fanfiction.net.
Oh. Are you going to Tumblr? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying? Oh, I thought you were going to fanfiction.net. That's why I said there would not be anything there.
No, the website.
A tumble, if you will. It's probably all over Tumblr. I actually didn't check Tumblr, but I'm sure that's a good place for it. Maybe you'll find that scene in a GIF on the Tumblr tag.
Honestly, I would be 0% shocked. I'll have to look into this later because I can't
Yeah. Well,
I can't tell.
That's a bummer. Well, I guess actually that'll be good for me though, because when I rewatch it, I'll look forward to seeing that scene because I don't remember him saying that to him at all, and I would have clocked that immediately.
Yeah,
But that is the episode where it made me go, I need to look them up on the website because they don't initiate like a foursome by any means, but they are like actively trying to fuck these girls in the same room.
Yeah.
But they're not like doing the thing where they like look at each other. You know what
Which
I mean?
is
Like, they
disappointing.
don't play it like that.
Like, why would you?
I know they totally could have, but I don't know necessarily that Cameron like super loves his wife. They have children, but like I don't think he's like
That doesn't mean
'cause he's-
anything.
his I know, but I'm just saying like, you know,
No, I do.
he is still connected to her. So even though he cheats on her, but like Ethan doesn't cheat on Aubrey Plaza.
Mm.
So he feels like I think he definitely loves his wife way more than Cameron assumedly does. But my other piece of media that I didn't necessarily watch, but it was really funny. So that same day where I was in the kitchen that I was talking to you about earlier, I was standing in the kitchen, I was making dinner, and I start to hear this notes to a familiar song. And you'll probably know what movie it's from once I describe it like this. But there is a franchise where there are particular songs that play during these movies, and some of them were not made for these movies. But when I listen to them, all I think of is the particular scenes from this franchise when they are played. And I want to know if you know what I'm talking about. Where like you'll hear notes to this and you'll think, this is the 4th movie from this series, or this makes me think of this scene.
Like Harry Potter?
No, but it's adjacent.
But it's adjacent. Twilight.
Yeah. So
Of
I'm
course.
standing in the kitchen and I'm hearing the notes to a song that's like, I would wait for the only words remain. And if you're
Okay.
familiar, it's the song that plays the first time that Edward and Bella have sex in Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Mm-hmm. If
And
you're
this is
familiar,
what I'm saying.
Turning Page, Sleeping at Last,
Thank you.
trust me,
That
I'm
is the
familiar.
song.
Trust
But you know what I
me,
mean?
I'm
Like, this
familiar.
is quite literally probably one of the only franchises where like these songs are connected to these movies no matter what. Like
Yeah,
Harry
yeah.
Potter, it's just that one.
Well, that's why I was confused, because I was like, what fucking
Like
song are
the
you
one really
listening
sad
to?
one that plays.
Yeah.
No. Well,
Hail
I
the
wasn't listening to it.
train. Yeah.
I heard the soft like playing of Turning Page coming from my window. My sister was sitting in the living room and I like turned over to her and I was like, are you playing like a TikTok or something? Like I hear something and she's on the phone with someone. So I'm like, I don't think it's you. And she like puts that person on mute, like whatever, like puts them on hold. Walks over to the kitchen and I'm like, do you hear that? And so she hears it too. And we're both like, who the fuck is one of our neighbors
Playing Turning
somewhere
Page.
is watching the sex scene from Twilight? Because no one just listens to that.
Hey,
No one
some
does.
of us do.
Nope. I stand by it. Some people do probably, but do you listen to it and then not a single other Twilight song?
No,
Just
because I
complete
listen to it
silence?
on loop. If I'm gonna listen to that, I'm listening to it on loop, and also I'm sob
I feel
crying.
like if I'm listening to a song that's particular to the Twilight series, I'm listening to either a whole bunch of them,
Yeah.
or like you're saying, like I'll listen to Rosalind like 15,000 times.
I'm listening to Rosalind
and
a
then I will
thousand
move
years,
on.
and
But
Turning
nobody
Page, and I'm
listens
sob
to
crying.
one song and then immediately turns the music off. So we knew that somebody was watching the movie is what I'm trying to get at with like playing the song. Like someone's watching the movie somewhere.
Sure.
But we couldn't find it. So we were like peeking through the windows, our windows, not our neighbors' windows. Peeking through our windows to try to find like who is watching this movie. And we couldn't find anybody. So I don't know. I wonder if somebody was like playing it on like their laptop or something, like not like on their TV. But it was so funny because we both were standing there like, someone is playing the Twilight sex scene song, not from the second movie, from the first movie, so it's really intimate. So, who is it? And those are the two pieces of media that I consumed this week.
I mean, honestly, as far as media goes, it doesn't get much better than that.
It doesn't. Two sexies and Twilight sex scene.
erotic, homosexual tension men.
Yeah.
And Twilight sex scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then my sister was here when I was visiting my grandma, and she texted me one night and said, I'm watching Requiem for a Dream. And I was like, alone?
Is she okay?
Like, yeah. No. She watched the first half and then called a friend and then watched the second half. And we were at dinner, or no, we weren't at dinner. We were hanging out with some friends the other night, and she was telling them, and they're both like, why did you do that? And specifically, it was just so like, well, first of all, that movie is such a trip. But like most people, I feel like know, like I've never seen, I've seen it, but like I don't know. It's kind of one of those movies where it's like you watch it in like bits and pieces in like middle school if you're our age. Like if you're younger, then you've seen it in like middle school through like bits and pieces because you're like, I want to check out Requiem for, I want to get like, I want to see something I'm not supposed to see.
Yeah.
And that's how I've seen this movie, and I never wanted to ever like tune it into it again.
No, I was gonna say I never watched it, but I am familiar with it.
I don't think I've seen it like you know, like I've like really put it on, but I've definitely like seen a bunch of clips, and I'm sure I saw like bits and pieces in middle school because it's definitely one of those. It was like watching like anything. Like the first time I saw Jennifer's Body, where I was like, I shouldn't be watching this, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. When I was like 10.
It's like the really grown version of like Perks of Being a Wallflower Clips.
Exactly. Or like 13.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, like, ooh. So what's even like I don't know, maybe this is whatever, but um it just was, she was talking about how, like, because like I went to go visit my grandma because my grandma's currently having like a little bit of a health scare, and my sister is like, because in the movie, Jared Leto is like stealing his mom's TVs to pay for the drugs, and she just lets him because it's the only time he gets to see her, or she gets to see him, and you know her whole plot point of like she gets to go on this TV show, and then she takes the pills to lose the weight, and da da da. Like it's like a whole big thing, and then tries to go to the TV studio. They're like, "Who is this lady?" Sends her to the crazy house, and she gets like, you know, it's very sad. But like my sister, for some reason, was like, "This is gonna happen,"
What?
and I'm like, "What?" I'm like,
like
"Gonna happen
you're
to
gonna get
you?"
addicted to drugs and steal your grandma's TV?
Not, I guess, just in the sense of like his mom like living on like by herself, which my grandma does. My grandma does live by herself,
understand.
but like, but I don't know. Like she just was like, it was a bad time for her to watch this movie. No
Yeah.
time is a good time to watch Requiem for a Dream.
No, but
then
that was a really...
you'll love this. So she was retelling this to the friends we were hanging out with, and we were all making fun of her because we were like, "Why did you do that?"
Yeah.
Another girl goes, "We'll just have to watch Fight Club then." And I kind of looked at her and I was like, "That's not the same thing
At all.
in the slightest."
At all.
I was like, the only people that get like emotionally, I can never see this again, about Fight Club are like far and few. Like I don't know,
People
like you know how you're saying like Heretic was.
Maybe? I don't...
Yeah, I was like Heretic was made for you. I'm like, yeah, it's a really specific audience that Fight Club like
is resonating like that.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then my sister was like, "No, I hate Fight Club," and I was like,
Damn, okay.
"Then why did you watch Requiem for a Dream?" I was just like, "Why did you pick like?" Not that they're the same. They're not the same movie in the slightest. Not even in material.
No.
But it's just like they're adjacent in the sense of like these like fucked up, crazy little movies that certain people like to rewatch. But I still don't think that Requiem for a Dream has the same like cult following that Fight Club does.
No, also Fight Club is not,
for the most
like,
part,
what is actually happening in Fight Club that's remotely as fucked up as what's happening in Requiem for a Dream?
not really anything,
Nothing,
because
honestly.
the violence in Fight Club is
not that serious.
very, very minimal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So I just was like, okay. I mean, I see, like, if you don't like that movie, that's fine.
Sure,
like, whatever.
sure.
But while I'm at it, too, here was another good little anecdote. We were talking, my sister and I again, shout out. We were talking about Halloween for next year. And she said, "Oh, I want to be Patrick Bateman." Because of all the new news about, like,
Yeah,
Jacob Elord is going to be Patrick Bateman.
Super excited,
And so I said, oh, cool, then we could watch the movie. Because I didn't get to see it this year for Halloween time. We just didn't turn it on. And she was like, "Oh, I don't like the movie." And I was like, "But you're going to be him for Halloween?" And she's like, "Yeah, because it's like a fun costume." And so then it kind of opened the door because I was like, "Well, what don't you like about..." Not that you have to like it, but I was like,
but
personally, I really like American Psycho. So what don't you like about it? And she's like, "Well, it's just a real, like, frat guy movie." And so in my head, I'm like,
if you
I'm about
let
to
it
indoctrinate
be.
another person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what I said to her. I was like, you need to look at it in like a
girl way.
More of a critical girl way, but like think of it as like a living hell and not like white guys are the best. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, you have to look at this movie and recognize what, like, from the beginning, he has no control over anything.
Mm-mm.
And like everybody just lets him get away with stuff. And I was like, and then by the end, he's so tormented by himself, he hates himself.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, he keeps saying how much he loves himself. He hates himself.
himself.
Like, I was like, you got to recognize that Patrick Bateman, at least, I think from the very beginning, but at least by the end for sure, like, is disgusted with himself. Like, he's trying so hard to not be, but he is. And then by the very end, when he's like calling his lawyer and he's like, I killed a bunch of people and I'm a terrible person and I need to go to jail. Yeah. And then he meets the lawyer and the lawyer's like, "Oh, you're so funny, Bateman. Like, that's crazy." And so I'm like, watch it through that because then it's so good because you're just like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like I hate Patrick Bateman. You know what I mean? It's like you're supposed to hate him. But I just was like, this is so funny because it really was incel hour from like watching, like talking about Fight Club to talking about American Psycho. But
100%.
I really felt like I was like, no, I'm gonna, like, I don't care, fucking whatever about Fight Club. But I was like, I'll stick up for American Psycho.
Which is crazy because
I really
I
enjoyed
think
this
that
movie.
I feel the way about Fight Club that you feel about American Psycho. I also like American Psycho, but I am passionate about the plot points of Fight Club.
Like I also,
when people are just like, this is just a dumb
Club,
boy movie. It is so much more than that. It is so much more than that. You need to think about that critically. Think about it from a capitalist perspective. I need you to be thinking really critically about this. Thank you so much.
So the moral of the story, though, is that we will fuck up a boy movie, and recently there's been a distinctive lack of boy movies.
Yeah, there really has
because Gladiator, girl movie. Nosferatu, girl movie.
Yeah.
Joker 2, haven't seen it yet,
Girl
but I can already tell you, girl movie.
Yeah.
Make another boy movie.
I think Wicked.
One was the most...
Going to Wicked like it's my Joker.
It is for some people. We went to
it really, really is.
We went to Universal, and they have like this store, like the theme park, and they had like this store and all this like branded food. And I went in there with some friends, and I was just kind of like, because they were like, let's go to the Wicked store, and I was like, okay, but like I don't really like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just Wicked never. And you know me. I am a theater kid to a fault, and so are my parents. But like, nobody in my family has ever been like Wicked people, which is kind of funny to say it like that. But truthfully, like I've never seen it. I've never seen only it ever really heard like the super popular songs, and I don't know the plot. I know like they're young. But when I saw the trailer and it was like they're roommates, I was like, this is the plot of the show. I felt so stupid. I was like,
there's stuff on the website.
They're in college? I was like, what the fuck? I'm sure, probably.
I'm like just curious actually. I need to know.
The most Wicked, the closest I've ever come to Wicked is fucking up that Ariana Grande and Micah song Popular that they made
100%.
in like 2013.
Popular.
I loved that song. I loved the music video. I thought it was such a banger. But that's the closest I've ever come to like being like
popular
Wicked. And then last night I like got a whole bunch of videos about Wicked on my TikTok, I guess because it's like about to come out. And I was like, this is cute, but I just don't really care. Like I appreciate that all these people really enjoy this musical and are very excited, and that's great. You know, I'm never gonna be like, you guys are lame, but I just don't. It's not my thing.
Boom, 74 found.
74.
74 people on this earth saw that there was something that needed to happen, and I bet many more will come following, except for probably not, because
it's a girl on girl show, so there's going to be fucking none.
There's going to be none.
But you know where there will be, though? Is there's going to be a fuck ton of the sexy guy from Bridgerton who's playing a sexy... I don't even know who he's playing in this movie. He's in this movie. But, and then Ariana Grande's, like, homewrecker boyfriend.
I wonder... I wonder if there's any gender...
I'm calling it now.
Gender bend.
I could get into that. Because she's mean, right? Because isn't that the plot where, like...
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Were you the one... Were you the friend who's seen it? You've seen it, right? Or
no, I haven't seen it.
That was someone else. That might have been someone else. But it kind of gives, like, Marshall Lee and...
That is exactly what I was thinking. That is literally... You just ripped it out of my brain. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Might be into that. I also know that... it's even in the trailer, too, but, like... Ariana Grande's character is like bitchy at the beginning. I don't really know what her arc. I'm assuming her arc, because she becomes the good witch, like she gains like a level of like I should actually be a good person consciousness. But that might be good though. Is that she's kind of a bitch at the beginning, and then obviously Elphaba turns into the Wicked Witch. But that could be. I doubt though that people will make it though. I have a strong feeling that like
Do
this
a
movie will be very much like a.
I'm ready for those edits with Wicked.
I'm getting attacked with a plague of like him edits.
It's not a plague, it's a
gonna be really
blessing.
Are you excited for the next podcast, episode 14, when I'll have my Camp Flogna review?
I am, and also I'm excited because next episode needs to be the most 14-year-old episode we can have.
Oh my god, we're turning episode 14 in March.
We're turning, that's the title. We're turning episode 14 in March.
I'll write that down.
That's so funny. Oh.
Anyway, those were all of my talking points. I didn't even have Wicked down, but I've gotten a lot of Wicked content recently.
I have too, and I'm like weirdly excited because I
to?
don't care about Wicked
Nothing.
really at all, but I'm weirdly excited, and I might go see it in theaters. I really am excited to see Gladiator.
I was thinking that too,
but I'm scared of Gladiator a little bit.
I know. I was thinking that too because I was like, well, I've kind of missed the mark on Joker 2. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch that in the theater at this point. I've just kind of lost interest. But I know Wicked and Gladiator, I think they're coming out on the exact same day because people were trying to do the Barbenheimer with Gladiator and Wicked, but little did they know that those are both girl movies.
Yeah, that's what they don't understand. But
so, because Barbie was peak girl movie and Oppenheimer was peak boy movie, and yes, I enjoyed Oppenheimer a little bit more on the second watch. Sue me. I consume boy movies like nobody's business. Nobody loves a good boy movie like me. Should that be the title of this episode? Boy movie?
yes. Boy movie.
Boy movie. But yeah, and then we have Nosferatu in December. Did you see that review where somebody said it was like super grim and perverted and like tries to make like the original story like sexy, and this guy like quote tweeted it and was like, this is supposed to make me not want to watch it? Like, now I need it to be released like next week.
Immediately, please.
What do you mean?
Also,
but
I feel like something about the original was kind of sexy. I can't.
Well, that's the whole
be held
bit.
To that.
Every vampire movie is sexy.
I was gonna say I can't be held to that.
Say.
Like, I don't think that he's hot, but something about the like. There's something inherently sexy about. Actually, I'm not going to finish that sentence. I'm actually not going to finish it.
No, you need to finish it.
There's something inherently sexy about somebody being in a situation where they are the prey in that situation. It doesn't matter how fugly the other person is. But there's something sexy about the helplessness of it all.
The helplessness of it all, and just something inherently sexy about vampires. Which brings me to the other piece of media that I watched was Salem's Lot, which I texted you.
Yeah, tell me about that.
That it was Tom Holland adjacent. Yeah, so
I don't know anything about that movie, and my brain keeps conjuring The Sandlot. And the Salem Witch Trials.
My grandma is a massive Stephen King fan, which I think is so funny. She loves true crime. She loves Stephen King. Like, she's always been into that kind of thing, so it's never been like, I don't know.
Okay.
Most people's like, I don't know. You know what I mean. Like, most people's grandparents are like, I don't want to watch a movie about vampires.
Yeah.
But my grandma, I said, they made another Salem's Lot, because this is like the 4th movie that they've tried to make out of this book. And she was like, for sure? So we watched it. It's based on a Stephen King book.
Yeah, his dumbass looks like Nosferatu a little bit, for sure.
What's that from?
This is the older one.
Yeah, that's the older one, maybe. But the one from this year, it looks really similar. His name's Barlow, I think. So Salem's Lot is the book. I mean, the reviews for the movie that people said, the people that have read the book, I haven't, have said that it's like, it should be more of a miniseries than a movie, because there's just so much that happens.
I was gonna say, isn't that
where I feel like
his whole thing
maybe
is that there's so much in every single book he writes.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think I was telling you, like, I tried to read Pet Sematary, and it, like, I'm like halfway through the book, and his kid hasn't even died yet, so it's like, bruh.
For sure.
But my grandma hadn't read the book either, so we both were just kind of like, well, this was good, I guess. But it's the it of it all too, where like that it book is so fucking big, and they made 2 movies, and everybody's like, you skipped all this shit, whatever. But the basic plot is, it's a very Stephen King. So the Tom Holland guy, I don't remember the actor's name. He looks like Tom Holland to me though. He's got long hair. It's like the 70s, maybe it's the 80s, somewhere in there. He travels back to his hometown where his parents were killed in a car accident. And he's a writer, so he comes back to his hometown trying to search for like who he is. Basically, he's grown, and the town was formerly called Jerusalem's Lot, which is another like short story that Stephen King has, but they've like shortened it since to Salem's Lot, so that's why it's called that. And basically, people in the town start going missing. People in the town start acting weird, or like they'll disappear, then they'll come back, but they don't come back the same, and then they'll disappear again. Like, they're not quite sure what's happening to these people. So it goes from, like, schoolboys that are getting bullied to, like, a gravedigger at, like, a funeral to the sheriff of the town to, like, you know, like, it keeps building. And they're basically all getting turned into vampires. So the, like, Barlow guy in that picture you showed, I guess was, like, lived in this town from the beginning. I was kind of like half watching this movie, but that's the basic plot. Is like he's turning them all into vampires to try to like take over the town, and like eventually, I assume like the rest of time or whatever. But the vampire look in this movie was so cool, and like most of the vampires were women. Okay, I'm not interested in that. Or little boys. So it was, or they looked really sickly. So it wasn't bummer. But it was still cool, which is why I was still like, I love vampires so much. Because they had like glowy eyes, and they were all dressed like very nicely. Or at least some of them, because they were like dead.
Right.
Like they would die and get buried and then come back as the vampire. So they're all dressed in like their funeral best. And there wasn't like death. It was like you're becoming a vampire. So the whole movie is like them trying to turn the writer guy, and then he has like a girl that he likes who's I think she's the librarian or something, or no, she works at the real estate company, which, spoiler alert, but she turns into a vampire at the end. And she dies. Spoiler alert. But there's a really cool scene. It was the best scene of that movie, I think, where they are hiding because they're typical vampire. They can't come out during the day. Mm-hmm. So they're hiding all night long. They hide in a church. Big deal, too. Is like crosses, holy water, the whole shebang hurts the vampires. And, which I love. And they exit the church, I think, or wherever they are. And they're all like, did they leave? Did they all die when the sun came up? Like, where are the vampires? And the Tom Holland guy is like, there's no way they all died. There's no way they all left. They're here. They're just hiding.
I need to see the Tom Holland guy. I need a visual.
Where is he? I think his name is Louis Pullman. Sounds right to me. Okay. Look that up. Okay. If not, just type in Salem's Lot 2024 and he'll show up. He was also in Top Gun, I learned.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what is his name in Top Gun? Hold on. Bob.
Oh, okay. Ugh. But I think that's the end of the scene was basically just like, they're all like, where could they have gone? And the Tom Holland guy is like, do you notice something? And everybody's like, what? And he goes, where are all the cars? So they have this drive-in because it's 70s, 80s. Okay. So all the vampires are in the car trunks at the drive-in.
Oh, dude.
So they go to the drive-in to try to find them. The sun sets, and they all pop out of the car trunks. And it was so, like, such a cool idea. I was like, wow. So that was the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, was watching all the vampires come out of the car trunks. And it's everyone in the town. Like, everyone. But I could see where this felt a little bit rushed, because, like, I didn't really care about the background characters so much. Like, the sheriff or one of the little boys who's, like, all his friends die, basically. Okay. They kind of just make the writer the main character, which I guess he is in the book, but, like, the others have a little bit more oomph to them. Yeah. But I still liked it, though, because my truth is that if you put a vampire in a piece of media, it's gonna get like 3 stars automatically just for the fact that you
If you give
are
a
on board
vampire
with
a
vampires.
movie.
If you give a vampire a movie, then I will rate it 3 stars. And if you give him a cookie, well, that's another story. He can have my cookie, but
Jesus.
but it was still like spooky. But it wasn't. I mean, it was color graded really cool too. Like the vampires would all be in green lighting, and everybody
cool.
else had like red lighting to show like they're dead. And then afterwards, we watched some more of that funny TV show, What We Do in the Shadows.
Very nice, very nice.
Which I love that TV show as well. So I had a very vampire week, but or a vampire weekend.
I was gonna say.
Oh my god! You hear a gunshot. I don't even want to continue after making that terrible joke. But speaking of Twilight, Jonathan Lowe. She's driving to Forks. Yeah, so that is my media recap. This is kind of all we ever talk about.
Yeah, but should we just pivot to a movie podcast?
Actually, that's not true.
No, we don't. We talk about other stuff
I feel like we
sometimes. But this
should.
is I mean, that's what this is a movie podcast
Say,
with
the last one,
hints
episode 12,
of-
we only talked about Smile. That was like the only movie hour we had, and we talked about Smile 2 for like 10 minutes. So we were due for a movie podcast, I fear. Because episode 11 I have written down was like, oh, we talked about Joker and We Live in Time. But
I was gonna say, because
genuinely, though,
I
we
watch
haven't-
like a movie a week, and I know you
Yeah.
do too. So inevitably,
yeah. This is very true. But also, it was kind of, we didn't really walk into this one with much to, nothing's really happened to me this week. I mean, there's
No.
been some things, but like,
you know, we could talk about to
the
close
Twilight
if you
movie
wanted.
thing was really funny.
No, that is really funny.
Sure.
I don't really have anything like
Donald
super. I don't have anything.
He's not welcome in this podcast.
No, I'm banishing him.
Yeah.
I've been watching the show at the gym because my favorite thing that I live for is when a document.
Watching inappropriate content at the gym.
Actually, this one was shockingly appropriate. Was
Oh.
I know. My favorite thing that I'm always on the lookout for is when a docu-series hits the top 10 on Netflix. I know it's gonna be some crazy shit. So, because I'm like, so many documentaries on Netflix are just garbage. And that's my primary documentary source. Because when they're good, they're really good. So, this docuseries hit the top 10, and it's called The Manhattan Alien Abduction. And it's this 3-episode... Honestly, it didn't warrant a series. It should have been a movie, because literally every episode is 40 minutes. So I feel like that's a movie. But it would be a long movie,
Yeah.
I guess. But anyways, it's about this guy who was like an alien abduction ufologist, actually, is the technical term. In the like 80s and 90s, that was like his career in Manhattan. And like all these people will come to him and say like, I've been abducted, I've been this, whatever. He like hypnotizes them and pulls the memories from their brain and like takes, detailed notes and whatever, like a real scientist would do for something else, is what I will say. Yeah, I was gonna say real, but then I was trying to be polite. But yeah, like a real scientist would do for something real. So like the documentary focuses on this one woman specifically named Linda, who is this like Italian woman, and she says that she got abducted by aliens, and the aliens like hovered her body outside of her apartment, like out the window of her apartment, and like there was like a bunch of witnesses, and so he goes and talks to all the witnesses, and he talks to her, and they like do they hypnotize her, and she pulls the memories and whatever, and there's some kind of little piece of metal. She goes and gets an x-ray. I don't remember why. Something was wrong with her. She goes and gets an x-ray of her face, and there's this little piece of like metal in her nose. Honestly, it looks like a nose ring, but it's way up in her nostril. And she says that it's like from the aliens, because the doctor, I guess, didn't know what it was, or I don't know, or how it would possibly get there, or whatever. had to have it surgically removed. It's this whole thing. And then her son also was like little, like 10 maybe, and he had an encounter with them also at their apartment.
Oh ho.
So the documentary, I'm assuming the like ufologist guy is dead because he's not in the documentary at all. So I'm assuming he's died because the two main people that they're interviewing, or the three main people they're interviewing, is Linda. There's like two other random alien abductees who used to work with.
I thought you were gonna say the two aliens.
The two aliens. No, these two other like alien abductee people who used to work with the guy, and like he used to hypnotize them and stuff. And then his wife, which I'm assuming he's dead. I'm guessing. I don't actually know. They might have said, and I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if they're waiting to tell me at the end of the documentary. I don't know because I'm not quite finished with it. But yeah, the whole point is that the wife is when she marries this guy, she starts filming everything that he does with these people. Like when they do get hypnotized or whatever, she films the session because her background is in like film and documentary work and whatever. So she's like trying to help him like build credibility, I guess, essentially by filming everything. So she films all this stuff from the beginning to the end of the Linda case, and she's in this documentary saying that at some point she changed her mind that Linda was telling the truth, and she thinks that she was just telling her husband whatever he wanted to hear, and that she had fabricated the whole story, and that she had like coached her kid, I guess, and like I don't like hired all these witnesses like as actors, or I don't really know. And then obviously Linda is saying that's not what happened. And then they also interview the son anonymously. He does the thing, like the old documentary thing where they'll like silhouette you. But he just like shows up in a hoodie and they like backlight him so you can't see his face at all. I don't know. And he's talking about his experience.
But you know who his mother is, so you know who he is.
And they're showing you real pictures and footage of him as a child. So I was like...
Oh, I have another talking point, actually. I just thought of
That's all I have to say about that, really, is that I've been
continue.
watching this alien abduction documentary, and...
Alien show?
I don't know how that made it in the top 10 on Netflix. I mean, it's not bad. Like, the documentary visually is done well. But maybe I just don't like aliens. I don't know. The story, I'm bored. I don't really give a fuck about
I'm also
aliens.
not a big alien person. I don't either.
care.
Like, at this point in my life, I'm like, if they show up, hey, awesome. If they don't show up, not gonna change my life one way or the other.
I was gonna
like,
say,
you know, like it's like, unless you show up to do something,
I don't
then
think
great.
that-
But if you show up and it's like, wow, aliens exist, I don't think I'm gonna be like, my world's gonna be rocked or anything.
Well, and I'm watching this
But
documentary.
I think all these documentaries are bullshit, by the way. I don't think that anybody has ever encountered an alien in their life, and I'm sticking to it. I feel the way about aliens that I do about ghosts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, if it exists and someone proves it, great. But
Yeah.
I'm still at the moment like, nah.
See, I'm a firm disbeliever in ghosts, and I have no justification besides it just doesn't make sense to me, so I don't think that's
It doesn't make
real.
sense to me either. I
But
don't
I'm
think they're
very
real. I don't think
agnostic.
they ever will be.
I'm
but
very agnostic about aliens because I think that logically it would make sense that there was other life.
That's how I
forms
feel
somewhere.
too. But it's still just kind of like, eh.
But I don't even doubt necessarily that somebody's had an encounter, but it's so out of my realm of reality that I just don't like. I'm watching this documentary and I don't necessarily think that this woman is lying. I don't know. I don't believe, like, I don't really know how to explain. It's like, I don't believe that anything that's happening in this documentary is real. But at the same time, I don't think that you're lying because this is so elaborate. You know?
That's fair. I don't know.
But I
feel
don't,
like I'm like, yeah, but
I also can't conceive that there was actually aliens in your apartment. But I don't think you're lying at the same time. If that makes sense. It's like, this is no fault of you. This is just fault of aliens at large. They are fake to me no matter what.
the aliens fucked that up.
They did, dude. They did. Honestly, the smartest things
I was
aliens
a-
could be doing is taking the craziest people on Earth to, like, for their cover. Because That's a genius plan. And this woman's not even crazy. Like,
Or
she seems pretty normal.
making them crazy,
Yeah.
you know. But
Anyways, that's all. That's
yeah,
what I've been
no.
watching
I was just
on
thinking
Netflix.
I watched again with my grandma, but I think it's on HBO, that It's Florida Man show. It's like a mockumentary, but not really, where like so I thought it was just gonna be like kind of like a What We Do in the Shadows type, or like, I don't know what's another good example, but like a show where they take like stories of Florida Man people and like make them in like an actual like character. But what they do is they interview, each episode's different, and they interview a person from Florida and reenact, like dramatized reenact whatever their story is about.
Okay.
And so I'll tell you about the first one. Was this guy in Orlando like wanted money to go to a concert, and so he like posted on Craigslist like, I'll do anything. And the guy that contacted him wanted him to cut off his toe and eat it as like a fantasy that he had. And in the interview, you saying like he was like silhouetted, but you still saw the kid's pictures. This guy goes, well, I don't want to be known as the toe guy, like when this comes out. And the interview people are like, you didn't think about that before you gave your full government name and face and told them where you live. And then still proceeded to say, a guy paid me to eat his toes. Spoiler alert, he did not eat the toes. But
Wait.
yeah, the first one.
The guy wanted to cut off his own toes and was going to pay the other guy to eat his toes, correct?
He was paying him to cut off his toes and eat it. So the man was asking him as a fantasy to cut off the man's toes and eat the toes. Not
that was what I was
person
confused
doing
about.
it. So
I was
he
gonna say, because
was supposed to
would
go
do
over
a lot of things for, like, if I'm this guy and I want to go to this concert, I'd be like, I'll do a lot, but I'm not gonna do at-home amputation and cannibalism on myself.
So
I'm
he
not
was
doing it on
full
anyone,
ready to do it,
but I'm not doing it on myself especially.
No, he was supposed to do it for the other guy, but then the guy was like,
That is crazy.
bring a female friend. So he brings a cheerleader for the Orlando Magic that he knew. And they end up going over to the house, and the guy is like super normal. This is just a fantasy that he has. And it, like, you know, you'll have to watch it. It was just crazy. They're pretty good episodes so far. Like, they're, first of all, very believable. I have 100% met people in my life exactly like this. And like the dramatized like, you know, re-filming parts are good. And they use comedic actors. So like the couple from the first one, I believe it's the actor opposite Tim Robinson in that Detroiters show, and then Ego Nwodim from SNL plays the girl. And then in the second one, it's the main actor from Red Rocket, the Sean Baker movie. I don't know if you're familiar with that one or not. Plays a guy who got his arm eaten by an alligator.
Okay, perfect.
Which I believe. And then the third one is about, they've only had 3 episodes come out so far. I think there's going to be a total of 6, but we watched the first 3. And the third one is about this woman who works as a professional mermaid in Fort Lauderdale.
Nice,
and gets into it with another mermaid.
In the water?
No, like, but they like get into a verbal and then like, not like a super physical fight, but they get into a verbal fight because the other one's like a bitch.
Okay.
And so the other one ends up like blasting her on TikTok and like making her life a living hell, and then moving next to her and like practicing witchy cult stuff. And her husband is a deputy. So it's pretty like it's just kind of like crazy, but
I'm stuck on the toe. I think it's
Anna Faris who plays the mermaid. Yeah, the toe one is the wildest one by far.
So wait, they went to his house to go watch and they didn't eat the toe?
No, yeah, so they meet up, they go at night, and they even say, they're like, this wasn't very smart because he totally could have like murdered us. Yeah. It's like, you think?
Obviously.
They think it's going to be like some super seedy guy, but it ends up being somebody super normal. And they're watching like the NBA playoffs or finals or something. There's like a basketball game on. He gives them beer.
Do you think she was
They're
like, I
eating,
cheerlead
nice
for
food.
I
I
cheerlead
know.
for the
And she's
Magic.
like, oh, the Magic. And he
That's
like
so
sets
funny.
out like the like sanitary pad and like a kitchen knife and gauze and all this stuff, and then the
Ugh.
guy goes to do it, and he's like, his safe word was like Connecticut, because it's where that guy was from. I don't know. And he keeps using the safe word every time they're like about to do it. And he's like, I'm a karate instructor. I can't like not have my toes. Like, someone in his life, I think, was supposed to get married or something. I don't know. He keeps making up, like, he keeps using the safe word and then being like, I got this thing coming up. I can't do this. And the other guy is like, you paid me, or you're going to pay me to be here. So is this part of it, or like, are we actually doing this? Because if this is just part of it, like, that's fine. But like, I came here with the intention of
That
getting
is
like
so
the full
freaky.
money,
Like, not. It's weird that this guy wants
and then they just
this,
go home.
but also, what kind of human being are you
Yeah,
to actually show up to his place and be totally ready and then be frustrated? Like, it's so funny to be like,
I know.
is skateboarding part of it for you, or are we doing this for real? Like, you want to
That's
cut
what
his
he
toe
did.
off
Exactly.
and eat it? Freak.
Exactly. That's what my grandma said. Is she's like, he actually kind of seemed like he wanted to do it. And he
Yeah.
even said that he's like, I feel like this is how murderers feel, because I was trying to convince him, like, he was saying like him and the girl were trying to convince the guy to get his toes cut off. They were like, this was your fantasy. You wanted this.
Just because they wanted the money that
And
bad?
it's just so, yeah, because it was like supposed to be like $4,000 or something, which I think is low for
Are you kidding?
cannibalism. I feel like $4,000 per toe, and then like $10,000 on top of that to ingest them.
Yeah, it would have to be a lot
I would have asked for
than
more money.
$4,000 for me to cut somebody's toe off and eat it.
And eat it.
There's no way.
Like 3 toes, I think it was.
No, sorry.
And like part of his foot too. It was supposed to be also like
ew.
his part of his arch or something as well. And so they ended up not doing it, but he still paid them anyway. And
Yeah, hush money.
eventually, like, yeah, I know. And then like a couple days later,
That's crazy
they found out that
also.
the artist
To be like,
that they wanted to go see was like committed sexual assault. Like got charged with sexual assault, so they couldn't even go see him anyway.
honestly, it sounds like everything worked out though.
I
Because you're
know.
telling me you walked away with money and
know.
you didn't have to cut off anybody's body parts and eat them. And
And
now
you
you
could
get to
just
save
save up
the
the money because your
Yeah.
favorite artist is an asshole. Yeah, it's crazy. So the episodes were pretty good. I was a little bit like, I don't really care about watching like a show that's just gonna make fun of people from Florida. Like, I've lived that, girl. I don't really need to,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. And then someone else in my family was just kind of like, oh, we turned this on because we knew you'd love it. I was like, why? It's like saying, like, putting on the Californian sketch from SNL and being like, we know this would be your favorite thing ever, so we wanted to play it just for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it ended up being good, but it was kind of one of those moments where I'm like, I'm sure this show is absolutely hilarious to people who are not familiar with Floridians in the slightest. Who just, it's almost like a caricature, which, to be fair, it's the most extreme
Sure.
stories. Like,
But that's just
it
life.
is a little bit that notion of like, that's just life. But also, I was just kind of like, yeah, but it's not like, I don't know, like, I knew a kid from high school who stole a fish out of an aquarium, killed it, and then like tried to get away with it and got arrested. Like, I've met some just batshit people in my life. Like, it just doesn't. It's still very funny because these are stories that even I haven't even heard. But like
Sure.
the guy who gets his arm bitten off by an alligator, it's like,
That's my neighbor.
yeah, that's my neighbor.
That's
Yeah,
really
it's
my
like,
neighbor.
well,
I don't care.
I don't know. Like, just the most random shit. But
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good though. I thought it was funny. It's just funny to like hear them kind of insecure type retell the story, where you can tell, like, as they're saying it, they're like, maybe I shouldn't be telling people this, but they're on TV
Dude,
saying it, so it's a little bit like,
I was watching.
did you think about
I've
that?
also been watching, like, not, like, barely at all. I've watched, like, an episode and a half of this other Netflix show called I'm a Stalker. and it's like interviews with people who have been victims of stalking and also the stalkers. And I was like, yeah, I don't really like shit like that. I don't know, but I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And the first episode was like this guy who he met this girl at summer camp when he was like 15 and he was 17, and the stepdad was like, you're too old for her, like you need to wait a year and then call back. And then a year literally, he waits, and a year later he calls back, and then they get in a relationship and they date, and he like slowly gets more possessive of her, where he's like showing up at stuff that she's at and like being with her all the time, and like showing up like crawling through the dog door at her house, and she's waking up and he's in her room. And I know. And she in the document, which like no victim blame.
Unless you're
blame.
Edward from Twilight.
Exactly, yeah. No victim blame, but she's
Edward from Twilight lookalike competition in my bedroom.
In my bedroom, please. When I wake up. She's in the documentary like, yeah, I just thought that he was just like in love with me, and like that was normal, which like I get that to some extent. Also, they're like middle-aged people, so think about if this was happening 20 years ago when people didn't know anything about anything, you know? So whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
It's like, because in comparison, it's probably like, wow, it's so romantic that he's just sneaking in my house. Like, my parents got married when my dad was 30 and my mom was 14. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, he's such a gentleman.
No, I can see that, where it's like, he didn't sneak in and like start breaking your furniture. Like,
yeah,
he snuck
he
in
just
and he's
wanted
just
to
like,
see you.
he's creepily seeing you in your bedroom,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like,
he just missed
I guess.
you.
Like,
yeah,
if
it
you
doesn't
don't know any better.
That's what I was thinking, though. I was like, I guess if
weird.
I was like, I mean, no, but if I was like 17 and like was kind of sheltered, then maybe it would be normal. Whatever. They end up getting married and having kids. And and
It's the way to a woman's heart, man.
Yeah.
Sneak into her house and watch her while she sleeps.
He just like ends up getting really like more aggressive with her when he's frustrated about stuff, and you know, just it ends up with she leaves him, moves on with another guy, and then he like breaks into that house with a knife and gets arrested for burglary and sentenced to 8 years in prison, and he does 7. What was crazy to me though is that in his interview he was like, yeah, and then they arrested me and I got sentenced to 8 years, which was nothing to me. And I was like, doing 7 years in jail? Because I thought originally I misheard them and I thought they said 8 months. So when he said what he said, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Like, I don't feel that way, but I guess that makes sense.
That's still a weird
That is
thing
a
to
slap
say,
on
but
the
I guess
wrist.
it could be worse.
Yeah, like 8 months for getting caught with a knife when you were in somebody's house is like, that isn't a lot of time. And then they do the editing where it's like 7 years later he was released from prison, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he's done a lot of crazy person shit already, but like, if you weren't sure that this guy is weird, that should have been the moment of getting sentenced to 7 years in prison or 8 years in prison, doing 7 and being like, whatever, water off my back.
Hey, like, I was just about to say,
is wrong
that's
with
chill.
you? So anyways, he ends up like dating this new woman, and then whatever, things are bad with her, and long story short, he ends up breaking into the house of another one of his ex-girlfriends, and she has another guy over. It's just like some random guy that she's like sleeping with casually or something. He breaks in and kills the guy in front of her, and he's doing life in prison. And he is in this interview like,
and he was being serious. 8 years was nothing.
Yeah,
for him.
Yeah, because you
compared
could
to
do
life in prison.
But he's in the interview like talking about what he did to the first woman that he was like married to, and he was like, wow, what did he say? It was so creepy. He said something like, she's my nemesis because she keeps doing a bunch of like victims like advocacy stuff, basically being like, this guy should have never died because he should have been punished more severely for the way he was stalking me before he could even move, like, go to jail, get out, and move on with somebody else, and then ruin this other person's life. You know, basically. So she's like works with the mom of the guy who died, and they do a lot of stuff to like prevent him from getting out on parole. Like, they go to all his parole hearings and are like, no, here's all the stuff that he like said and did, and we have, you know, we have receipts, literally. And
good for them.
Yeah, no, good for them. But he's in his interview being like, she's my nemesis, but I can't help, you know. The other thing he said that was crazy is this whole portion of the show was crazy, is that he says that, and then he says, you know, people always say, you're always searching for the feeling that you had from that first marriage. And I was like, who the fuck is saying that? People on their 6th marriage? Like, no shade.
Yeah.
But who's walking around? Is that common enough that people are walking around saying, like, you're always searching for that first marriage feeling? I know that people are getting divorced and whatever. But what?
Yeah, but still, it's like, I don't think that's a saying. I think that's
think
genuinely
he made
just
that up.
A crazy man.
I was like, you're insane.
Yeah.
And then he is sitting there and he's like, but I just can't.
Love at
I
first
can't
marriage.
help but feel bad. Love at first marriage is real. He's like, I can't help but feel bad because, and he starts crying. He's like, it's the woman that I loved. Or that and actually, I don't remember if he says loved or if he says love. Scary business. I don't know. So I started watching the second episode, but then I got off for us to podcast. But the second episode is about this couple who he started dating this girl, and she already had a kid, and so he like comes in as the father figure, and she's like, yeah, he was great with the kid, and he's talking about the kid in the interview, and he's like, he's in prison giving his interview, so like I know something went down, but he's like, yeah, I like loved him like my own, and you know, we did all this stuff together, and you know, he was just my little buddy and whatever. This is right before we get on the call, by the way, as I'm doing my other stuff. He's like, and then he died.
The kid?
In a tractor accident.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
It's not funny, but I'm about to make it 10 times worse.
It's not funny.
The guy... Sorry, it's not funny. It's really not funny because it was really sad.
You better mute that.
It was really sad. I'm being serious. It was really sad when I was watching it. It was making me really sad. But it is just absurd. He fell off the tractor. Him and the guy who's in prison right now. They were in the backyard clearing like trees after a storm or something.
Okay.
He falls off the tractor somehow. And the guy runs him over. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, it was so sad. I don't know why it's so funny. It's absurd. It's absurd. But at the same time,
I think it's like hearing about like when Jeremy Renner like ran himself over
with a snowplow
or whatever it was.
It's like, that's awful.
How do you even do that?
Happen? Well, that's what was
but
crazy.
Also, do they live on a farm?
Well, no, but they live in like the Midwest, and this guy he was like a diesel mechanic and like all this stuff. So he's also says in the documentary, he's like, she was not like the mother. He was like, she was not mad at me, I guess is the way he says it. I don't remember because he's like, she knows that it was
totally a freak accident.
Yeah, it was genuinely a freak accident, but because
still.
I work with this equipment all the time. So like, I was not being careless, I wasn't being like I wasn't whatever. I work with this stuff all the time. I know how to be really responsible working with it because I do it so much and I work on these machines. Clearly. So it really just was a freak accident, but like, holy shit, dude. But also like, as insane as that was to hear, in the way that you felt watching the Florida Man documentary when that guy got his arm bit off and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
whatever. That's how I feel about all tractor accidents, because I know like 6 people who have died in tractor accidents, which is not funny.
Oh, I know.
Which is not funny.
I know.
But I'm like, oh.
There's like 2 or 3 people I've met that have like their thumbs are missing, or like they've got like fingers that got stuck, or different things.
Well, I definitely
but I've never heard of somebody
death. I've
running
heard
over someone's child.
So there was last year one of my neighbors, I'm not kidding, was run over by a tractor and died. Chopped up. I'm being serious. Horrible. So
it's not funny.
It's not funny. But is that not insane? And I had to watch that, and literally
it's not insane and it's not funny.
I turned the documentary off right as he sang I ran him over. Basically.
Oh. Singing?
Saying.
Oh, I thought you said
after he sang. After he said,
I was like, he's singing. What did he sing? Like,
I turned the doc
and
off.
And I ran. It's not funny.
He says, he's like explaining himself afterwards, but he's like obviously crying because he has this guilt over this horrible accident, and I just had to shut it off on like this like scene of him silently crying, and then I got on this call with you. Said, hell yeah, let's podcast, brother.
Is this on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay, then I'm gonna have to watch this.
It's the second episode of
I want to know how
I'm a Stalker, and it's the first like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Like, say, I want to know how he ends up being a stalker.
Yeah, I'm assuming, my guess, having not watched the episode, is that he's gonna get like consumed by his guilt and then stalk the mom.
Yeah, I was gonna say she probably. If I was her, I'd want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I don't think she blames him.
Even if it wasn't his fault.
My guess is that she's like, I have to move on because I can't be with you because I can't dwell on the fact that my son died and you were the cause on accident, but still.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that he gets obsessed with her because he feels so guilty about the son. That's my prediction. So I'll.
That's crazy.
Yeah, is that not insane? I was like, fuck. Okay, yeah. I guess I gotta go podcast now. This guy's in jail for stalking, and he killed this kid on a tractor. I don't know. So that's
the cruel world.
Quick little recap on everything we've been watching these days.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and...
Salem's Lot, Manhattan,
Heretic,
Alien Abduction,
Lotus.
White Lotus,
Manhattan,
I Am a Stalker,
Florida Stalkers, Aliens.
If you guys aren't watching content like we are, start watching content. Get off TikTok. Get on these weird B-list documentaries.
Because sometimes they bear interesting fruit. Like, it's not funny, but
like the Toe Story.
Yeah. Like the Toe Story, you know? It just... There's so much content. There's actually too much content out there. But...
Yeah.
Stop watching Family Guy clips next to Subway Surfers on your phone and start tuning in.
Be a real American and start watching Requiem for a Dream.
Exactly. Exactly.
But not American Psycho.
We used to be a proper country.
Stupid.
No, don't watch those.
They're
Save those
movies.
for the real people who like content.
The frat boys.
Exactly. The frat boys. We've been Plato and Aristotle.
Yeah, that's us signing off, guys.
Go watch our TikTok. Plato and Aristotle. Go watch our TikTok at Plato and Aristotle Pod.
Review us on Spotify.
YouTube. Review us on Spotify.
Check us out on YouTube.
Like us on Spotify.
Like
and hit that subscribe button on YouTube and comment. Give us an email. Tell us how you feel. Tell us if you've watched a boy movie recently.
And if you have, give us recommendations. And don't give us basic shit because, come on, guys. You know we're watching those deep cuts. What did we just say we've been watching?
Like...
Salem's Lot. Deep cuts. You bitches, what would you know about
deep cuts that no one knows.
A24 theater release movies.
Stranger Things. So don't give us that weak whack bullshit.
No, give us some good shit.
Give us something to chew on. And we will see you in... We're turning episode 14 in March.
So we'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.
Bye.